I'm an up-and-coming fighter, and without a doubt you will see me on the UFC in the near future, without a doubt.
Conor McGregor is hands down one of the most fascinating beings on this planet. He's not afraid to take risks, he revolutionized the fight game, and he has a unique approach to his training. Most athletes in MMA have a rather basic training schedule and do basic work of conditioning. Conor's training is different, but this doesn't necessarily mean that it's better. Conor McGregor trains with the help of Ido Portal. Ido calls himself a movement expert, and his training is movement focused. The biggest advantage in that training is that it gives you more possibilities to attack your opponent. Look how Conor uses different movement techniques in the octagon. He doesn't use those techniques to show off, maybe just a little bit. Instead, he wants to hit his opponent when he's not expecting it. This increases the chances of a knockout, because your opponent is not flexing his neck muscles, which can dampen the punch. Getting punctured by an unexpected hit creates a stronger brain concussion, which can lead to temporary unconsciousness, aka a knockout. Because Conor can attack his opponent in so many ways, this also makes his opponent feel like he cannot defend against the attacks. This can be frustrating.
He moves different, so you know he's good. He's good. He's a great athlete. He's fast.
As an opponent, you can't help but think, what the fuck is Conor doing here? I don't expect to be attacked like this. Conor wants you to have doubt in your abilities and therefore force you in a defensive position. But there's a huge downside to this training technique. As Bruce Lee said, I fear not the man who has practiced 10,000 kicks once, but I fear the man who has practiced one kick 10,000 times. Knowing more ways to injure your opponent is great, but there's also a trade-off. Mirko Cro Cop, a legend in the martial arts scene, is known for his badass kicks. He practiced them by kicking a wall thousands of times. Mirko Cro Cop is highly specific in his training. Ido Portal doesn't believe in being specific, but in being a generalist.
It's much more human than being a specialist. Our culture is moving towards specialization versus generalization because we've become patternized, we've become weak, limited in the point of view, boxed. This is the price of specialization. We lose all of this good stuff.
This is part of the reason why Conor has lost to Floyd.
I don't see any stiffness in Floyd. He's a master at what he does, but he's also extremely specialized at what he does.
In MMA, there are simply more ways to attack your opponent. You can use your hands, elbows, knees, shins, and you can even take your opponent to the ground. All things that you can't do in boxing, where you can only use your fists. These fixed rules in boxing neglect the upsides of the training of Ido Portal. Boxing is specific. This minimizes the uncertainty of Conor's attacks. But I don't think Conor cared much about losing, as the fight against Floyd has made him over $30 million.
What's up, everybody? Hello. Put my whiskey down, notorious Irish whiskey.
Another downside of being a generalist is that your body only adapts to what it needs to, especially your nervous system. If you're a chess master, you won't be great at planning or strategic thinking in your daily life, because your brain exactly adapts the connection in your nervous system that it needs to get good at chess. Have you ever tried to ride a bicycle with your hands crossed? I have tried it and I fell immediately to the ground. Look at how Destin from Smarter Every Day tries to ride a bicycle with a small shift of his mechanics.
The algorithm that's associated with riding a bike in your brain is just that complicated. Think about it. Downwards force on the pedals, leaning your whole body, pulling and pushing the handlebars, gyroscopic precession in the wheels, every single force is part of this algorithm. And if you change any one part, it affects the entire control system.
Riding a bicycle, such as throwing a coordinated punch, is a specific and highly complex action. Your training therefore needs to be specific and complex too. Look how Mike Tyson or Anderson Silva, both legends in the fighting sport, train their head movement. It's in a fight situation, in a cage or a ring, and with fighting gloves. This is a highly specific situation, as close to competition as it can be. When Conor is training with Ido Portal, Ido is holding a stick. This is not a fight scenario, instead it gives Conor's brain the false impression of distance. This could lead to Conor getting knocked out in the ring because he's used to defending against a stick. The hands of the opponent of Conor, including the gloves, which usually have 4 ounces of padding in the competition, may be bigger and less bouncy than the stick. If Conor's central nervous system is used to that stick, he may move his head for 10 centimeters to the one side while trying to block a punch. When he needed to move for, let's say, 12 centimeters, this can be devastating. Ido needs to be that serious about these details and needs to spend a great amount of time in preparation. Too bad he doesn't have the time to give Conor all his attention.
I cannot be there all the time with him. I'm very busy. So
Mr. Portal should wear fighting gloves for this practice or use a stick with the exact measurement of the hand size of the opponent. The same thing goes for Conor hitting those flying cards. Again, a great exercise for your central nervous system, but it's not specific enough. Why is Conor not wearing his MMA gloves, which add 2 extra centimeters of padding? These 2 centimeters might not sound like a huge deal, but it has a huge effect on your muscle and brain coordination. A punch is a heavily coordinated movement, with multiple processes playing together. Some centimeters of padding create a vastly different experience. These 2 centimeters can decide if your punch is a knockout punch or not. The most common knockouts are made in 2 ways. A hook on the tip of your chin, which creates a lever that increases the force and therefore the concussion on your brain. The hook on Jose Aldo was perfectly placed by Conor, exactly at the tip of the chin. A knockout can also be made by a direct hit of the trigeminal nerve, located at the other end of your chin, near your ear. If the punch would be placed just 2 centimeters off, the lever will be decreased and the force will be less serious. Also, 2 centimeters can decide if you hit the trigeminal nerve or not. Ido needs to know those details and implement them in the training. I don't exactly know what to think about Ido Portal's training. At one hand, being a generalist has huge advantages in fighting. It creates uncertainty and may weaken the opponent from a psychological point of view. On the other hand, you need to be specific in your training. When millions of dollars are on the table and people get severely injured, no stone needs to be left unturned in the training. I like that Ido is using a different approach to training, but I can't tell you if he's being a snake oil salesman or a thought leader. One thing is for sure though, his nutrition advice is bullshit.